Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest and most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and on occasion, make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, My Girlfriend Asked Me to Open Our Relationship and Has Destroyed My Self-Esteem. And guys, this story, real briefly, is about a guy who's 50 years old, or his girlfriend's 50 years old, and out of the blue, she just brought up the idea of having an open relationship. And this guy's just completely blindsided by this and very hurt. And you're going to see as I go through this story here, aside from the fact that he's just hurt, you're going to see the diabolical actions and measures she takes to get what she wants. And at the end of the day, you're going to see here, once again, you got to be careful who you get in relationships with. And also, guys, it's an important story about having to have self-respect, because you're going to see here, this guy doesn't have exactly the most self-respect, so it's no wonder he's kind of in the situation that he is. So, jumping into it, starts off a little background information. We've been dating for 1 year now. This happened 2 days ago. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie when she turns and asks if I'd be comfortable with us opening up our relationship. So they're just sitting there watching Jeopardy, and all of a sudden she turns to him and says, "Oh, would you like to open up the relationship?" Imagine that conversation. Immediately, I feel my heart rate rise significantly. She talks about how she wants to have different S-word experiences and doesn't want to turn 50 and regret not at least trying those sorts of things. She also keeps saying that she loves me and that she wants to spend her life with me. Translation, she wants to have her cake and eat it too. And you would think by 50 years old, she had plenty of those experiences when she was younger. I voiced my extreme discomfort with the idea of us going to other people for you-know-what. I asked her if she had anyone in mind and if they had brought all of this. The guy wrote this kind of bad here. He brought it up at all. She said no, but I could tell something wasn't right. I kept pushing, and she finally says that she has a crush on her boss, and if we were to try this, she would have you-know-what with him. Immediately, I start feeling lightheaded. This is when you say, no, we're done. If you obviously want to have an open relationship, then why the hell be in a relationship to begin with? Right? Fine, we break up. Go have your fun. I'm out of here. A guy with self-respect would do that. But this guy doesn't. And this whole, does she have anybody in mind? You bet your ass she has somebody in mind. There's always backup. There's always a plan here. She can see this has clearly affected me badly and starts backpedaling, saying that it was just an idea. It's not really a crush, and he's just the first person who came to her mind. It then hits me. I've met this guy before, and I've met his wife. So I ask why she seems so sure that she would have you-know-what with him, given he's married. She says that he's flirted with her a little bit. I asked if they are messaging outside of work, and she said yes. Again, another reason for him to end the marriage. Now they're talking outside of work, having a relationship, if you will. This is her boss. And talk about a stereotype there. Again, any guy with self-respect, bye-bye. I asked to see the text, and she seemed hesitant, but eventually said yes. I start scrolling, and she starts getting visibly scared and tries to stop me from reading. I then see why. She already has had this conversation with him, asking if he'd be interested in having you-know-what with her as part of our open relationship. And he says in giant letters that I wasn't even aware of at the time she wanted at that time. He said absolutely, and has been trying to organize a time for them. She even agreed to use our apartment. Oh my God. Well, I tell you that there's already a plan in place. Girl talks about the open relationship, open marriage. Believe me, she already has some dudes in mind ready to go. And she was ready to volunteer his apartment. All of a sudden, the overwhelming urge to throw up hit me, and I left the room. Once I finished throwing up, she comes in and says it was a stupid idea and she'll forget all about it. Yeah, sure. I tried to explain that my issue is with her planning it before asking me, and we get into a massive fight. She is refusing to understand where I'm coming from, and this whole thing has completely destroyed me. Understandable. But regardless, this is not good girlfriend material. She's a snake. Walk away. Have some self-respect, because she doesn't respect you and she'll keep doing this. Whenever she's at work, I'm filled with anxiety, and now she's just trying to act like the whole thing never happened. I asked her if she's still in contact with her boss, and she says that she is, and they are friends, and she has explained to him that the open relationship isn't going ahead. Even still, I've asked to look at the messages and she refused to show me. I can't seem to think straight anymore. I love her, and now when I look at her, all I can do is think about how she probably would rather be with her boss. What can I do to overcome this? Any advice is greatly appreciated. So I'm going to share my 2 cents here, and then I'm going to continue on with the updates to this guy's story. My 2 cents is, my advice here is to get away from her. She's not girlfriend material. She's trash. And she's been lying to you the whole time. She's been playing this whole thing. Okay? And at the end of the day, she wants to have her cake and eat it too. She wants you there to be her rock and emotional support, and probably to contribute financially and have access to your resources, but go off and F any other dude she wants. And the fact that she planned this, which no surprise here, and in your own apartment, says everything. And now, of course, she's backpedaling, and he said they got into a big fight, and she's refusing to understand where he's coming from. Let me tell you, how do you think she would have responded if the situation was reversed, and he turned to her when they were on the couch watching Jeopardy or whatever they watched, Wheel of Fortune, and brought this up? She wouldn't take it too well, especially if she found that he was already planning this with some other woman. But she's making him out to be the bad guy. Now, let's have some updates to see how this progresses. He says, as an update, I've read the comments so far, and I know you are all right. The relationship is over. I've decided to break up with her when she gets home from work. I'm going to stay at my brother's place until I can line up a new apartment to rent. I appreciate the tough love. I definitely need it. Thank you for all your comments. Well, good for you. Good he listened to other people. But now you're going to see how things really get interesting, how diabolical this woman is. Update number 2. I again want to say thank you to everyone who commented and reached out privately with support or advice. Things got, and he says in giant letters, wild. As I write this, I'm literally shaking. I'm hoping that writing this out will help me calm down a little. So here's what happened. I waited for my girlfriend to come home from work. She came home, and I acted like nothing was wrong. I had read a comment in the post that suggested I get proof before the breakup to send to the wife of the boss. So I waited for my girlfriend to get in the shower and grabbed her phone. I had already braced myself. I expected to find flirting nudes and worst case scenario that they were sleeping together. What I found was so much worse. Honestly, might be one of the most vile, abhorrent things I've come across in my life. They together had come up with a plan to convince me to agree to the open relationship. I'm going to give you the basic premise here. So now they're working together to get him, to manipulate him so they can get what they want. And here are the different things that he found out. Number 1, and this was their plan. Number 1, invite her friends to join her and I at a bar and have some drinks. Number 2, make sure her friend Mary is there. Mary told my girlfriend that a couple months ago that she had developed feelings for me. What kind of people are these? This woman's playing all this behind this guy's back, and this woman's friend apparently told his girlfriend that she has feelings for him. Number 3, essentially feed Mary and I drinks until neither of us can see straight. Number 4, throw us at each other in the hopes we'll end up sleeping together, therefore cheating. Get everybody together, get them drunk, throw them together, hope they hook up, and then they're free and clear to do whatever they want. Number 5, I'll have to accept an open relationship if I want to stay with my girlfriend. Number 6, she can then, in her own words, this is her words, I can F him, me, at home and fool around with you, her boss, in our lunch breaks. Diabolical. I wasn't kidding when I sent this, planning this whole thing out. If this guy has been convinced that he needs to get this piece of trash out of his life, right there you go. It says, I felt lightheaded again. I grabbed the most incriminating screenshots I could and sent them to myself. I then put her phone back and waited for her to finish her shower. I sat her down and explained that we would be breaking up and I was going to stay with my brother for a bit. She started crying and I told her not even bother. I explained I knew her plan and she tried to tell me that it was all just a mistake. That we could make it work. I just ended up leaving. My brother picked me up and we went to his house. I explained the situation to him and his husband. They were shocked. My brother sat there just speechless and his husband just sighed and said, effing straight people are weird as shit. Literally, as I read this the first time, because I read these things in advance, when he said that his obviously his brother is not straight, I was imagining one of them making a comment about straight people, and there you go. Yeah, she gives him the whole waterworks, and it was a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake. This is planned out. He says, I sent the messages to the boss's wife, and she just replied with, I had my suspicions. I feel awful for her. I also told Mary, his girlfriend's friend, I felt she had the right to know what was going on. She called me crying, asking if this was some sort of elaborate joke she didn't understand. I explained everything, and she told me she was so ashamed of her feelings for me. She felt like she was betraying her friend. She is furious now, is going to confront her. I'm glad. Yeah. And maybe now this guy, maybe if Mary's good looking and Mary's cool, maybe they can get together. That'd be nice. Nice little happy ending here if Mary's, good looking and actually a person with integrity here. Yeah. And he sent the information to the boss's wife. That's great, because now she ought to know. A little payback here. And also, it's not fair to her to be with this guy who's cheating on her. He says, I really appreciate all the support here. It's nice to read some encouraging messages. It's a tough time. I'm going to try and get some sleep. I'm effing exhausted. I hope everyone has an amazing day. So I'm going to finish this off with my 2 cents and read some comments from people all around the world just to show you I'm not the only one that thinks this. But guys, this goes to show you, it's amazing to me just the stuff people do to each other. I mean, you got the internet full of these stories, and yeah, there are a lot of stories out there that you can take one look at and say it's total BS, but there's other ones that are, most of them are quite real, all right? And it's just truly, truth is stranger than fiction. But this guy and any guy in a situation like this should walk. Anytime a wife or fiance or girlfriend brings up open marriage, it's over, and you know it's over, okay? And let her go. No, nobody's worth that. And it goes both ways. It could be with a woman. If the dude brought it up, which in my experience, almost every single time, it's always the woman bringing this up. And by the way, they always bring it up to guys that they perceive as weak. Because if the guy was strong, they knew darn well, number one, it wouldn't happen. Number two, that, because he had strength and she respected him, oftentimes they wouldn't want to be with some other dude. But anyhow, here are a few comments around the world making the point that I'm making. One guy says, normally when I read comments on this subreddit, they'll all say break up with the person. I can find a reason why the original poster should try to work out the relationship instead. This time, I 100% agree with everyone else. There is no salvaging this. Unfortunately, you should cut your losses right now and begin the healing process. I'm sorry she was awful, especially since you felt like you genuinely love this woman. I would honestly break up with this person. She betrayed you, and she clearly wants to do shit with other people while keeping you on the back burner for when she's ready to settle down. Exactly. She just wants to keep this guy around. He's her rock, And in her mind, this guy obviously she thought he'd stick around. So good for this guy. But she obviously thought he'd stick around, and she can go do whatever she wanted, Gotta be careful, guys. Be careful who you get in relationships with. You gotta pay attention to the red flags. Another guy says, replying to your edit, good for you. I think way too many people don't really think through this kind of damage a request to an open relationship can do to their partner. Not that this is really an open relationship request. She was planning to have an affair behind your back. But she also didn't want to be branded a cheater, so she decided to see if she can manipulate you into opening up the relationship so she could F around with the boss guilt-free. Right. Look at the diabolical planning that was going on. Get him and the girl and her friend drunk and get them together, and they obviously hook up, and then she's like, oh, you cheated on me. Well, guess we're going to have an open relationship. She and the boss deserve each other. So stay strong. Don't let her make you reconsider your decision to move on. There could be tears of anger or whatever. She was laying the groundwork for an affair. Just focus on that and don't worry about how this affects her at all. Yeah, screw her. She's done. Also, once you have completely separated yourself from your soon-to-be ex, be a good person and give your boss's wife a heads up. You won't have any proof, but you should at least try to warn her. Obviously, this person wrote this before they found the update number 2 about him letting the boss's wife know. And last one, guy says, you have to end this relationship, right? She is either cheating on you already and looking for retroactive permission, or is planning on cheating on you soon and was hoping you'd give her the green light. The fact that you said no absolutely isn't going to stop her from having you-know-what with her boss. She's just going to try and hide it now. Either way, the relationship is over. You're never going to be able to forget that she was planning on cheating on you and try to manipulate you into being okay with it. Yeah, and as a lesson to any guys watching this that do relationships, if this guy agreed to this, number one, if this guy agreed to this, she would lose even more respect for him, and this would just go on forever. And number 2, if he stayed with her after this, she would just find a way to get what she wanted anyway, and would cheat on him and take advantage of him. But the only type of guys that would stay with a woman like this has no self-respect, obviously thinks so lowly of himself, his self-esteem is so low, that he would put up with it because that's better than being alone, you know? And this guy says his self-esteem was damaged by this, which is totally understandable. But at the end of the day, good for him, even though his self-esteem was damaged, that he's getting away from her. The guy continues, I'm reading your edits now, and your girlfriend and her boss are effing disgusting, grape-enabling trash. I was speaking code when I say grape. I'm glad you warned everyone involved. They deserve to know what sort of scum they were dealing with. You and Mary need to get away from these people, and hopefully the boss will be divorced soon, and then he and your dumpster fire of an ex can heap with each other's company. I can empathize enough how criminally disgusting their plan was. They were essentially going to set you and Mary up to get, well, I can't say the word here, but certain things going while you were both too drunk to consent to anything at all, so your ex and her boss can cheat on their partners more easily. That's one of the most vile things I've ever heard. You are well rid of this human skid mark. Well said. But anyhow, guys, that was a quick story there, but again, to show you, you gotta be careful who you get in relationships with. And it is amazing to me how things are nowadays, because left and right, I hear these stories about open relationships, open marriage. So I'm curious, any of you guys watching this now, wherever you are in the world, let me know. Do you know people that they've had their significant other, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, fiancés, bring up the subject open marriage? Because I read it all the time online. It's an amazing world we're living in, where truly this is Sodom and Gomorrah Part 2. That's the direction the world is going, and it didn't end well for those places. So, but anyway, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you ever find a really good story or article, or you have a personal story that's definitely on the levels of crazy or entertaining along these lines, by all means send them to me. If they're definitely good, I will most certainly go over them later on down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.